I mean, the vast majority of gym owners never get out of the foundation stage. So, a couple of reasons why. It's challenging you to hire somebody to replace you. That's difficult. And it's challenging to develop better marketing systems to acquire people. That's also not easy. That's also very challenging because you're having to do the lead nurture. You're smiling and dialing, you're interacting with people. So, most gyms can't get into the next stage because they get in trouble with they're not hiring the right people or they're not acquiring the skills to acquire better clients or more clients.
You're an inspiration to our entire organization.
Welcome to the Gym Marketing Made Simple podcast. We're going to be talking the done-for-you marketing and sales strategies proven to work with boutique fitness gyms to increase quality lead flow and grow your revenue. Don't try to be a professional marketer and waste tons of money. Let the experts at Lasso do it for you. And now, here are your hosts, Blake Ruff and Sherman Merricks.
All right, guys, here we go. Gym Marketing Made Simple, Sherman and Tommy. Tommy's my guy here today. We're without Blake this time. So, guys, today we're gonna talk about some sort of break points and who or what it looks like when you decide that you want to sort of get to the next level. And I'm gonna let Tommy start us off, and I'll jump in as needed. But I'm excited for this one because this is gonna really give some of you guys clarity that are listening on sort of what's the next steps.
Yeah. I would say like, again, what we're assuming is we're talking about gyms that are constrained by like time and money. Because the reason why I make that caveat is because like we work with franchises where like they'll start off by skipping a few steps because they have playbooks and enough working capital to kind of like weather the first kind of couple phases of business. So I just want to make that caveat. So generally speaking, you guys, like when we're thinking about the phases of business, when we're time and money constrained, we have to think about where you have the most leverage. Okay. And that's what's going to kind of determine what's the next step for you and what's the next solution for your business to get to the next phase if that's where you're trying to go. Keep this simple. It doesn't need to be like 11 steps. I'm going to keep this to about 4 steps. Okay. From like 0 to 15K, you guys, like this is what we just call startup grind phase. We've all been through it where it's like you're the guy or the girl, like you're doing everything. If you don't have the money to hire someone, that means you're using all of your time to get this business off the ground. So you're the head coach, you're the main marketer, you are growing your business based on word of mouth and trying to establish basic systems for both acquisition and retention and delivery of service. Okay. But when you're the only person, all of that lives in your head and you're doing all of it. That's going to carry you for about 75 to about 120 members. Like you can carry that load yourself, okay, without burning out. Once you kind of start to bump up against that 15K or like 100 to 120 people, you need help because what you're finding is that you can't keep up with either retention or acquisition. So we got to get you off the floor to focus on the business versus the delivery of service. So once you get to 15K, what you're looking to typically do is like hire that first part-time moving into full-time person to kind of be the main coach so you can get off the floor and focus on the things you need to, which is keeping people in the gym and acquiring new people to come into the gym because you've basically exhausted word of mouth. When Blake gives you that figure of like, hey, the average gym signs up about 4 to 5 people a month and you have really good churn, you're naturally going to stop growing somewhere between 100 to 125 members. Nothing wrong with that, but if you're kind of like, I want to go further, understand your leverage is replacing yourself on the floor and then looking into other marketing channels to help continue your growth. So when we say we don't work with gyms below 15K, it's because I know it's not the lever to pull. You just have to get in there and do all the things. Once you get to 15K and you're like, hey, my churn is between 3 and 5%, and I've been stuck there for 6 to 8 months, and I've hired a coach to kind of replace me on the floor, I know your next thing is more predictable lead flow, right? That's the lever for you to pull. That's going to carry you probably somewhere between 15 to 30K, okay? Once you get to 30K, you have 1, potentially 2 full-time staff members. You are profitable. You're taking care of yourself, and then you're The lever you have to pull is leadership development within yourself. Two Brain calls this the tinker phase. I just call it like the value to your organization is empowering your people to take more ownership over the organization, right? That's a very specific skill set in terms of managing, not managing people, but just like how to manage yourself to help your team grow. Okay. That paired with more marketing it's going to help you to grow to the higher levels of like 30 to 60K. Once you get there, you got to start thinking about how to remove yourself and how you're going to exit this thing or how you're going to expand this thing. Those are your only two options. It's like, okay, we can keep growing and go further. That means I need to get even better at staff development, leadership development, or we're going to maintain this and I have to figure out how I get out of this thing. First of all, how do I insulate myself so I have a sellable asset to somebody? And then how do I get out of this thing so that I get the highest amount of value I can for this business? Those are your only two options. So you get into things like, being a lot more diligent on your financials, thinking about what that exit path looks like in the 3 to 5 years, or you're thinking about growth and scale and like, okay, like, how do I get better at hiring people? How do I get better at like leading people? How do I get better at like bigger picture vision and working with lawyers and working with real estate agents and working with architects and working with contractors to make sure like this whole thing can continue to grow? How do I manage cash and money better so that I can continue to grow? That's the skill set you have to level up to once you get past like that 55 to 60K. So that's generally it. Sherman, I would say like most people graduate out of the basics around 20K, right? That's just kind of where we need to add more fuel to the fire, because if you got into 20K, it tells me you've done all the work that you probably need to, where, okay, now we just got to pull a different lever. That's essentially it.
Yeah. And so, okay, so we've sort of gone through that, but what do you believe, or what the data shows, what's sort of the top, let's say 20% of gyms? Because we've been throwing out those numbers. We talked about 0 to 15, then we talked about 15 to 30, then 30 to 60. What do you think is the top 20% doing revenue wise? Because I believe that they're sort of, I think some people believe that they know, but I don't think the data is super clear unless you just deal with so many affiliates and have that, have that data you can look at. So what's the top 20% of gyms doing out there as far as revenue goes?
If we're removing franchises from the mix,
yes.
and we're just talking about independent gym owners, I mean, top 20%, they're doing 20K or better. Like the top 10% do 25K or better. Push Press has that data to say like, hey, you're in the top 10% of gym owners if you're doing better than 25K. I mean, the vast majority of gym owners never get out of the foundation stage. So a couple of reasons why. It's challenging you to hire somebody to replace you. That's difficult. And it's challenging to develop better marketing systems to acquire people. That's also not easy. That's also very challenging because you're having to do the lead nurture. You're smiling and dialing. You're interacting with people. So most gyms can't get into the next stage because they get in trouble with they're not hiring the right people, or they're not acquiring the skills to acquire better clients or more clients.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that, for me, it makes so much sense because, again, when someone reaches out to Lasso, they have to fill out, the questionnaire and, put their revenue and stuff. And I was surprised when we sort of in the beginning with Lasso, when I would see some of the revenue that gyms were doing, and some of the questions that they were bringing to the table. And I'm just like, dude, you're only doing 12K per month. Why are you worried about, if I'm being honest, why are you worried about some special marketing campaign that's going to gain you this amount of members? This isn't the thing that's going to work. Because again, I believe that, nothing against early marketing, but I believe the early marketing, because I did some of it as well, we would do the 6-week challenges and we could charge them, $400 a month. We get 20 people to do that. That was a huge boost in revenue. But we knew that out of those 20 people, 18 of them were definitely not joining. So that next month, or that next, the next time the billing cycle runs, it's back down to where it was that crappy revenue again. And I like I thought that as an industry, we were doing a little better, you know, taking out the franchises, of course, but I just thought as micro gyms, we were doing a little bit better. And now the more that we're getting sort of inundated with the data and talking with more gym owners, a piece of it is because it's hard, like you said, it's hard for gym owners to one get out of the way, right? Okay, you're no longer needed. You need to get someone in here. That is true, but also you need to make sure the person you're hiring is going to step in and fill that role that you need filled, right? Again, I'm not one of those that say, "Oh, I need someone to do it. No one's going to do it better than me." All of that. Listen, you don't need someone to do it better
No.
than you. You need someone to do the thing that you need them to do, and do it on a consistent basis. But we see so often, you know, even when they try to hire someone, it doesn't go perfect. So then they sort of implode, and then now they're back to coaching, you know, 8 classes a day. And again, if you love coaching, there's nothing wrong with it if you want to coach eight classes a day. But understand, like Tommy like to say, understand that what you're giving up by coaching 8 classes a day, because coaching 8 classes a day, 5 classes a day, whatever the number is, there's certain things that you can't do to grow the business that need to be done to get to 30K, 40K, 50K per month. Because business is hard. I think a lot of times people just sort of look that over. They just say, well, I got into it for the coaching and to help people, but like it is a business and you can't help anyone. You can't coach people if it doesn't make money and allow you to hire staff and stuff like that. So I believe this is where we need to sort of dive into in 2026, making sure that we are being genuine in our answers and our responses to people to help them get to where they need to be, right? Like, you know, we talk about this a lot on the back end. Tommy, let's sort of dive into this. When someone reaches out to us and we have to tell them no, right? Like, listen, like, you're just not going to be a good fit for us, even though they may be doing 50K per month, right? We've had some of those. Give people some of the reasons that they wouldn't be a good fit for us, just so we can be honest with them.
Outside of just not being in the right, like we're just not the right resource for you right now. And I'll give you a couple examples, right? Like if you can't seem to get past 10 to 12K, I can almost guarantee it's a service delivery issue or a retention problem. Like you need to invest in a mentorship company. Like that's exactly 100% what you need to do. If you can't seem to get past 15 to 20K, most of the times it's either like a systems, hiring, leadership, or marketing issue. Like that's a great time to like look into something like paid ads or Lasso, because that tends to be the issue. You've solved the service delivery and churn issue. But to Sherman's point, like the last piece of this, you guys, is just mindset about what you're trying to do with your business. Like when you enter the game of paid marketing, like again, it's an amplifier of your business. So you have to be operating at the very tip of the spear to do it well. And so what I mean by that is like you got to get excited about picking up the phone and reaching out to strangers and being able to work through a lot of people ghosting you, a lot of people not engaging with you in order to hit the numbers that not to say you have to hit there, you have to live there forever. You can outsource that work eventually. But it's just the mindset around wanting to continue to do the hard things. Because I'm not going to lie to you guys, like it's amazing when I wasn't running paid ads, I closed everybody, which probably means I need to raise my prices. But it was just easy. I didn't see it as work. I'm like, guys, this is fantastic, but for some reason I can't seem to be getting past like 35 to 40K. Once I introduced cold traffic, I'm like, oh, wow, I need to level up my skill set to be able to talk to complete strangers and be able to emotionally deal with that day in and day out. You either have two choices. You either step up to the plate and say, how do I get better at this? And that's just your mindset. Or and Sherman and I ran into this year with a gym owner that's just like, you know what, guys? I've been doing this paid ads thing. I've been averaging 70 to 75K every single month. I just don't want to do this anymore, nor do I want to outsource it. So I need to completely rethink my business. There's nothing wrong with that. He was just very clear on like, that's what I need to do because I understand that like, I don't want to keep operating at this level. Totally fine. So the last piece of it to you for what you're asking for, Sherman, is like, even if you have the systems and you have the growth, you have to have the mindset and you have to have the clarity of where you're trying to steer this thing. In order for me to get out of sales, which I am now, I accepted the fact that if my team can do 80% of what I do, that is a win, because I can't expect them to do 100% of what I do. If they do, that's awesome. That's fantastic. But I can't expect that. It's my business. I care about it more than anybody. But if they can do about 80% of what I can do, that's a win for me. That allows me to remove myself so I can focus on other things. So a lot of it, Sherman, is just mindset.
Yeah. I like that. I just like for people to hear that because, over the last year, 2025 for Lasso, with me, definitely being in the sales role. Listen, I'm a salesman, right? Like I like selling. It's fun. It excites me. And at times, like it could be difficult for me to like, quote unquote, turn down business. But in 2025, we did more of that than I had ever done, like in my career. It would be gyms coming to us. They're doing $50K per month, $60K per month. And I talk to them and I'm just like you just mentioned, Tommy, their mindset isn't right. I should not sign this person up because it is just going to be a burden on the team long term. What do you think are one or two of those sticking points for gyms that are like they have the revenue, they probably have the systems in place, but when they come to us, it's just not a good relationship? Like, what do you think are one or two of those sticking points so we can leave them off with that?
You don't want to jump in and do the hard thing of talking to complete strangers and getting rejected most hours of the day. That's the first one. Or you've done that and you're having trouble training other people to take that off your plate so that you can continue to plug yourself into higher value roles. Those are the two sticking points. So it's either you're not willing to get into the trenches or you can't teach your team how to get into the trenches with you.
No, those are great. No, those are great. Those are, I actually had another one, but I like those two better. And again, guys, as we talk about this, you'll notice we didn't tell you to, we're just telling you what we've seen over the last years. We're not saying, hey, run out and everyone join Lasso. We can help everyone. We know we can't help everyone. Like that is not the case. However, we want to be transparent and honest on who we can help. And then that also comes with who we can't help. So if you've been listening to these episodes and it sounds like, man, I think these guys can help me, reach out, right? There's no hard sell. Well, maybe depending on who you talk to. But we want to see you guys reach that next level because we know that the state of our industry is very important and we want to be a part of that. So guys, as always, tell a friend to tune in and we will chat with you guys next week.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to the Gym Marketing Made Simple podcast with Blake Ruff and Sherman Merricks. We hope you enjoyed. We believe marketing should increase revenue and not waste money. So book your free call today. Head on over to lassoframework.com. That's lassoframework.com and find the right words, get more customers, and increase your revenue. We'll see you here next time.